My name is Nancy. You can call me just Ask Nancy. And today we have in the studio, we have Betty and we have Tola. Today we'll be discussing, we have a very important topic on hand based on trends of what are you bringing to the table. We hear all the time. It's had us wondering if marriage is still relevant here. We have Betty with her wisdom and years of experience, and Tola, who is going to try to look at it from all angles as well. So, as we know, marriage has always been a rite of passage. Okay. As I can say, for us, it has always been a rite of passage into adulthood. It is a sign, it is a status symbol as well. As we know, sometimes to even hold public office, you have to be a married man for people to actually even respect you, for you to hold public office. And in our communities, I can talk about Ghana. In Ghana, for instance, married people have always been seen as, or marriage has always been seen as part of the steps in making it. So you have to go to school. After school, you have to graduate, go to the uni, get married, have kids. These are the steps that we know that brings you into adulthood. But in recent times, we've heard so many arguments about why maybe marriage is not the it's all and all, especially when some women go into marriage, or when some men, I can say, because now we know that abuse can go both ways. And people are like, why didn't you leave the marriage? Marriage is not an it, or it's not an end, or why didn't you leave the marriage? Why do people hold marriage as in such a high esteem? Then the other side of the coin is when people ask, what do you bring to the table? Where we have men asking women what they bring to the table, and women arguing that they build the table. They built it and they are the whole table, because just appearing and being in the marriage should be enough, and they shouldn't be asked what you bring to the table. So in the age of so much technology, where women can have babies without a man, where women are so learned, they can provide for themselves without a man. And now we also have so many men who are also, of course, they are domesticated. They know how to cook for themselves. They know how to keep a home. They know all of these things. We can see that gender roles are becoming blurrer and blurrer. So my question tonight is marriage still relevant in our society? Is it still relevant today? I don't know who would like to go first.
Betty, would you like to go first?
Yeah, my internet keeps flickering. I don't know if it's on my end or if you guys are having the same issue on your end, but it keeps flickering. So bear with me if that happens.
Okay.
If
All
you
right.
lose me somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, the so when we look at this marriage thing, time has evolved. People have evolved. Things have changed. This is the 21st century. We are no longer in the 20th century. Our grandparents and most of our parents, they got married, and especially the women, they knew that, oh, you get married, you go to your husband's house, okay, and he'll take care of business. That is not the case these days. Everybody has to bring something to the table. The wife has to bring something to the table. The man has to bring something to the table, so that they can all make it work. Okay, so because the current family does not only depend on the man to take care of all the needs of the family, then that means that all the roles that were put aside for the women do not necessarily you can't just put all the labor on the woman and say on the wife and say, okay, it's your job to cook, to clean, to make sure the kids are okay, take them for doctor's appointments, and you're still supposed to bring something on the table. It doesn't work like that anymore in this society that we live in, because if you try to do that, you will before your time comes here. So yes, I'm not saying that marriage is not relevant. I am all for marriage, but everybody needs to bring something to the table so that you can share the roles and share the resources, because both will be good health and to be working for bring them in so citizens for the future. Everybody needs to go out there, bring something, contribute somehow, and no, nobody has set roles like they used to do in our grandparents' time. Like, okay, you are the man, provide. If the men want to provide 100%, that's fine. But I really feel like in the society that we are living right now, women should not be left behind. Never should you sit back, and this is my personal opinion, never should you sit back and say, okay, I got it, because things happen. People get sick, die, accident, and they may not be able to provide anymore. Okay, so you need to set yourself up. So never sit back and be comfortable like, oh, my husband got that. Women, no, we can never be left behind. We should not be left behind. Yeah, that's what we'll start with over here. Over to you,
Okay, thank you, Betty.
Jackie.
Tola.
Okay, first I would like to say that I think with time, I think most people of the world basically has lost the basic purpose for marriage. Now, don't get me wrong. I I agree that there must be some certain things that both parties, male and female, ought to bring to the table. Absolutely. But we've kind of just lost sight of the purpose for marriage. Now the thing is, but if we start by saying what we have to bring to the table, then we're making it what's the word?
Like
In the long run,
transaction.
kind of exactly like a business transaction, precisely. And the truth is, in the days of our parents, grandparents, going back, unlike now, there are situations where it's said that both the male and the female, ought to have discussions about finances, about accounts, about goals, about what you're going to provide, about what I'm going to take care of, and all of that. In the past, it wasn't like so. That's
Mm-hmm.
because there was the purpose for marriage was clear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was clear, but now the world has changed. It's evolved, and along the line, like I said, we've lost track. We've lost the purpose for marriage completely. And I would always look at it from that point of view, because when I was getting married, okay, there weren't these sit downs, this okay, what do you have? What do I have? What do we
Mm-hmm.
both have? I think there was this um unsaid understanding of where each of us stood. We didn't have to table it. I mean, these days I understand it's been said that these things have got to be tabled,
Yes, you
and
have to show what you are bringing to the table and who is building the table.
but
Exactly.
honestly don't think it ought to be so. I think we just need to go back to the way it was. See, the truth is, like I said, the world has gone, nuts now. If we keep evolving, honestly, we're not doing ourselves any good. Especially if we keep evolving in every sphere of life,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy. Yes, like I
Any
said,
chance you think that we'll be moving backwards?
sorry.
Well, I
Any
mean,
chance you think
life
that
has to.
we'll be going backwards?
No, we'll not be going backward. I mean, life is progressive. Like life has
Exactly.
always
Yeah.
followed this progressive format. We have to always be going forward. And if we're going to talk about like, we're not going all the way back to uh, blessed beyond belief, going back all the way to the 200 AD. No, we're not going all the way back to 200 AD or all the way back. But let me set the stage. As we know, in a traditional sense, marriage was a way, like Betty said, it was a way for fathers to make sure that their daughters will be taken care of. Okay, because women back then did not have as much power as we do now. And if your father probably went to war and died or passed away due to whatever reason, marriage was a way to make sure that you, one, be taken care of, by somebody to protect you. Um, Not just taken care of in monetary sense, but a man has to you have to be covered by a man in those times as one. Also, it was a way to make sure that legacy, that there'll be babies produced, and then there's legacy. There is a succession plan. That is the reason why marriage was. When we bring it into the biblical sense, for me, I believe marriage is a way for us to love each other, have companionship, and love each other like the way Christ loved the church. You understand? It is something where it's been ordained by God for us, outside of procreation, for us to be able to show each other love. And the Bible sets the stage for what marriage is, and how men are supposed to love their women, and how women are supposed to be submissive to their men, and all of that. But coming into the modern sense, all of these roles are very blurred now. I don't know if any one of you believe if there are do you believe there are specific responsibilities in marriage? Do you believe, not going all the way back, but today, do you still
Today.
believe in 2022, are there still specific responsibilities to marriage, and why?
Uh, uh, I guess no. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, it's not so anymore. There's no
Mm-hmm,
specific role or duty
mm-hmm.
now for either the man or the woman. The man, in fact, these days the man can actually be the what's it called?
The homemaker.
The the homemaker. Thank you.
Stay home
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
dad.
exactly. Which again doesn't mean that he probably does not have the ability to be out there.
mm-hmm,
Now, the wife obviously will not be the one to bring in the finances. And ever so often, I think quite enough, sometimes it does work, but of course, not all the time. And
mm-hmm,
with the switch of roles, I don't honestly don't. I believe it can work. Really, I honestly don't see anything wrong in it. I believe it works. It just depends on the two people, you know,
mm-hmm,
on the agreement, and that it's not so much of a circumstance that makes them to bend to that
mm-hmm.
way of life, because eventually it could easily just come, crumbling down. So I don't believe there's specific roles anymore. The man can be
Mm-hmm.
the homemaker, the woman can be the one out there, and vice versa. So honestly, the world has changed, and we also still have to evolve, whether we like it or not.
Okay, Betty, how about you?
Yeah, so I do believe that in the current society, 21st century marriage, there are no set roles anymore. There's no, you're the mother, your job is to cook, clean, make sure the kids eat their food, they shower, they go for appointments, they do whatever they need to do. No, and the man is supposed to go bring the income. That all that, like you say, has already been blurred, due
Mm-hmm,
to various reasons and circumstances. Sometimes the men are not able to go out there and bring the money, and so the women step in, and they do double roles. They go out there and make the money, and they still come home and help where they can. Let's be honest, our men, very few men will be left at home with the kids, and they won't call you and say, I can't find this. Oh, where is this? So you're still doing double work. You're
mm-hmm.
going, doing the work out there, and you still come back home and and still have to take care of the kids. At least what I would say is, you are not sent by yourself. There is some help. And so that should be a mindset shift, because if we stay in the old mindset that this is what the man is supposed to do and this is what the woman is supposed to do, then we're going to have a whole lot of problems in this current society that we live in. I've seen a lot of stay home dads in this country that I live in, way more than I ever thought in my life. And they've worked it in such a way that they're very okay with the arrangements. You know, sometimes the
Mhm.
woman is able to make more money, and so the husband is like, okay, I'll stay home and take care of the kids. It's not, they're not doing it begrudgingly, or it's because they're having it, because financially
Mhm.
looking at it, when they weigh the options, it's better for the wife to go and bring the money, and the
Mhm.
Yeah.
husband is going to stay home and take care of the kids. So for us not to be left behind, we have to have a mindset shift and not look at it from the angle like, oh, these women are taking over. You know, they're they're taking over, and we are not the men anymore. You know, we are not trying. Nobody's trying to demean anybody here. Nobody's trying to take
Mhm.
anybody roles away. We're
Mhm.
just helping each other because the society is all evolving, the times are changing, and so we have to move right along with it.
Okay. We have one comment here that says that that's what is causing the problem in the world. Roles must be defined according to if this discussion is in the religious sense. Our God is a God of order, like asking a lion to swim. Well, I also kind of believe that there are some roles that are defined, especially when it comes like pregnancy and childbirth. I think that in that sense, there is only one person who can really carry the pregnancy for 9 months. You know, it's not something that can be shared. Once the baby is
Yeah.
out of the mother's womb, that is a responsibility that can be shared, because nowadays we have men changing diapers, making bottles, feeding the baby, can stay home with the child. But until then, there's one specific role, which is the childbearing. And when women are in this particular 9 months, or let's say a year leading up to the pregnancy and a few months after the pregnancy, so let's take it like a year, I believe that this is a time that they need most support from their man. A man has a specific role to play during this emotional period where the wife is, bearing the child and recovering from childbirth, But when it comes to like domestic stuff, like keeping the house clean, cooking, and all of that, or making the money, I don't believe that there should be specific roles. Now my question is, in our various societies, I will answer for Ghana when everybody is done. Do you need to be married to be deemed successful? Do you need to be married to be deemed successful?
Jesse,
Tola.
you go. Okay, me.
I
Okay.
don't believe so. I don't
Okay.
believe so, but it's a notion within our society,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that if they don't see a missus, especially for the women, you
Mm-hmm.
know, they want to know, are you married?
Mm-hmm.
Because for some reason they attach marriage with some kind of responsibility and respect and something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I don't know, because there are some great women who are not married but have done great things in this life. But for some reason, especially in our African society, I'm from Kenya and I see, I'm sure it's the same thing in Ghana. If a woman is not called Mrs. So and so, I remember even when I was growing up um, in school, we never called our teachers by their names. We had
Mm-hmm.
to say Mrs. So and so.
Mm-hmm.
And never should you ever try to call any of those teachers without putting their Mrs., because that defines that they are of a different class compared to
Mm-hmm.
the younger ladies who had graduated, you know, the new teachers who are not married yet. So they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure that they've been categorized differently, that they are
Mm-hmm.
married, and you know, they're, I guess it means something different. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, at this in our current society, it doesn't really matter, you know, whether you are married, you have the Mrs. title, or you don't. People have different abilities, and
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. or whatever the title should not define who you are and what you can do. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. Okay. Tola.
Yeah, I don't believe it matters anymore, especially where I'm from, which is Nigeria. I don't think it matters anymore, quite frankly, because there are lots of women right now who are single, well, who probably never got married or who are divorced, but whichever which they're single, and like Betty rightly said, they're doing really great things, and I don't think the society actually looks at them now the way it used to in the past. Now I think again the world has evolved. I mean, we always have to put that into perspective. whether we want to actually go biblical or not. I mean, like, we have to face the facts, you know, and let's call it spade a spade, really. In Nigeria right now, honestly, you can be single even for the meal. In fact, there was a time also then that even men weren't regarded as responsible, weren't regarded as having the the portfolio, so or the
Mm-hmm.
profile to hold
Mm-hmm.
some set positions or to be given some sort of chances in life.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's changed now. It's so much not like that now. Now there are lots of even women who are single mothers who are doing great. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, they're probably even doing better than if they were with maybe their previous spouse or even if they were with the man. So it's changed,
It
and
has
it's
as
probably going
well.
to keep changing, and we have to accept it. We can't I don't think we should always try to hide under the blanket of religion or faith or belief, because at the end, if we go into that, you'll be amazed how God actually himself handles some things that you would have thought might have been handled differently. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, so if we look at Africa in general, I don't know how many, based on a comment on this wall, I don't know how many presidents we have who can hold public office without having a wife. Is this somebody that people will vote for? Like this, it's an election year in Nigeria, it's an election year in Ghana. Even though times have changed, when it comes to the presidency, I don't think that we are there yet, where we are willing to vote for a president, man or woman, who is single. Do you think we are there yet?
I don't think so. Maybe in the Western countries, they are more enlightened. And even so, like you guys know, from the last few voting sessions that we've had here, that we had a woman run for the presidency that didn't qualify. We
Mm-hmm.
had some gay guys that ran for the presidency that they didn't qualify. So yes, they're almost there, but they're not quite there. That's why we didn't see that being successful here. And talk of Africa, no, we're not there yet. I don't think they are ready to vote in anybody that doesn't have a missus, because that, I guess, plays into what kind of a person are you, what kind of a lifestyle are you living. If you don't have a family, then how are you going to show us that you can actually lead? What kind of leading style do you have as that, as individual and all that. So yeah, I don't think Africa we are there yet. No, even in America we are not quite there yet.
Yeah, Tila.
So in other words, they still need a missus on the
We
side.
do still need a missus, kind
Yes.
of. Okay.
But you know what? I honestly don't know whether to agree or disagree. And the reason is because that situation has actually never come up before. Well, I can only speak of Nigeria. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
don't follow, I
It
don't
hasn't
particularly
come up in
follow that.
Ghana either.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, so it has never actually come up. We have never seen a single person come up for presidency or even for governorship. We've never seen it. But so, I mean, how would you know if it'll work if it's never happened? I've never heard of it. Now, maybe this certain people might actually think that they need spouses to get elected. And maybe that's their own thinking. But until I see it, that a single that is single male or even female runs for public office and is disqualified right from the primaries or from the party politics, then I can say for sure that it happens. But until then, I can't. Really and truly.
Okay. Now I'll talk for Ghana. I mean, Ghana and Nigeria are like cousins, if
Quite
I
similar,
should
yeah.
say.
Quite.
Yeah, we are quite similar. In Ghana, I think if you are a single woman and we've had a case where single women have tried to stand for office and people have used that like to attack them. Or even if you're a divorcee, they will bring that up as well. They'll try to use that to get some cheap points, during debates or during campaigns and things like that, and people will deem it as if you are going to be using the office as some type of brothel where there are going to be people moving in and out, especially for men, you know, if he is not really married, you know. And people who are married, they can also use it to score some points by saying, like, I am a successful person, I have a family, if I can take care of my wife and kids, it's a sign that, you know, if I can do the micro, I can do the macro. You understand me? If I can take care of
Yeah.
my small family, maybe I can, you know. So in Ghana, I think, even though it has never come up, I think if it comes up, it will be used against you. Even though we are in 2022, it will still be used against you, like, because we've moved forward for the everyday John, that's okay. But when it comes to holding public office, or holding offices within the church, like the church I grew up in, to be an elder of the church or a pastor within the church, you have to be married. It was very rare to see pastors who were not like married. And if they were not married, as soon as they were given this pastoral position within a year, they did get married. I don't know whether it was backdoor agreement between them and the head pastor or what, but you see that once they are made pastor within a few years, they do get married for some reason, and everybody else is like, everybody's happy when that happens. So I don't know. I think in Ghana it's never going to be like, I won't say never, but as currently it's still, in some places it's still deemed as a sign of being responsible and successful.
Yeah, but you know what? Well, let me just quickly add this: the Nigerian factor. When it comes to politics, especially public office,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's so much sentiment, quite frankly, because at the end of the day, how much people, look, you could easily have a pedophile, excuse me for that word, I mean, if it's offensive, actually run for office, yeah, but could actually get in. Now, it's not
Okay.
because of people actually coming out to vote at the
Uh-huh.
end of the day, but it's
Ah,
how it
okay.
worked out, if you understand
Mm-hmm.
what I mean. So that's why I
Mm-hmm.
said, like, look, until it comes up, especially for Nigeria, because the way politics is done back home is it's something else. It's something I can't even particularly even describe. So until I see someone vie for a position and he or she is single and is not able to get to the point where they actually get elected. Now, getting elected is a different thing entirely. Having the opportunity to run for that position is another thing entirely. I think there are situations where they can probably be given the chance to run, but getting elected is a different thing entirely. And I think
Okay.
that's probably not based on the people who vote or don't
Okay.
vote, quite frankly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So to those who agree that marriage is still relevant, or those who think it's irrelevant, do you think you need to be married to start a family, like to have kids? Since roles are blurred, must one get married to have children? Because today we have surrogates, we have you can pay somebody to carry a baby for you, you can go to a sperm bank and get a baby. Should one be married also to before you can have a baby? Is it necessary? If yes, why?
Mm,
And if no, why?
mm. That sounds
Now,
like a tough
for that
question.
one, I must say, I will switch back to the Bible. I believe that marriage was meant for procreation.
Mm-hmm.
Children should be raised up in an environment whereby, they get to know, this is my father, this is my mother. They're raised in love, and both parents have a role of raising up this child in, whatever their belief system is, Muslim, Christian, Hindu, or whatever it is. But I believe that kids should be able to be raised in a family whereby, the mother and the father got together and they were able to produce that child. Now, I know science is there, because I know one very particular case of a lady that I follow in Atlanta. She gave birth to one child, but she was already in her 40s. So she decided that for the next child, she's going to use a surrogate. And I saw the whole thing, the way it played, and I just felt weird about the whole thing. And why I felt so weird about it was because the poor child, of course, they used the husband's pumps and her
Mm-hmm.
eggs. That's fine. But the poor child was raised by this woman who, on day one, after giving birth to this child, gave it to the owners, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so there was no bonding of this child, all the bonding that she's been having with the parent, with
Mm-hmm.
the carrier for
Mm-hmm.
9 months. All of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden, the you know she gives birth, and boom, the child is gone. So the bonding that she's now supposed to have with this child once they are born, the
Mm-hmm.
milk and whatever, you know how it is.
Yeah.
All the bonding that is supposed to go with the child, it's taken away from the child. And the child is swept away and given to the parents, and of course they start giving. I don't even know if they allow them to pump and give the kid. I don't even know how that plays. But yeah, that one, I know it's a blessing for people that are really looking for children, but I have a hard time with that one. So no, I'm gonna stick with the Bible in this case and say, let two people get married, husband and wife, and let them get children and raise them in in a family of their own.
Okay. Tola.
Yeah, I believe so too. Because see, now let me just, ever since I got the topic, I started to do some research. Unfortunately, this past 2 weeks of of my life, it's been about marriage counseling and at church
Mm-hmm.
that I was facilitating with my wife. Now, biblically, marriage basically is meant for companionship, enjoyment, completeness, fruitfulness, protection, and to also typify Christ and the church. Now, if we say that, do we need both? The question is, do we need both parents in a marriage, right?
Mm-hmm. Should, yeah, before we have kids. I mean, or can we
Before we
just,
have kids.
because now science is really far. We can have babies without having to have a partner or a spouse. We don't need that.
Now, the problem with the problem that could bring up is the fact that a dad and a mom, they have individual roles in a family. Now, don't get me wrong. For those who are single parents who are doing a great job, kudos to them. Absolutely. But it's probably just a handful. I mean, I don't have the statistics, so I can't categorically say that this amount of single mothers or single fathers are doing it, this way or that way. But typically, I think it's more healthy to have both parents in your home, and if not, actually be what's the word? Be involved, even if they are sort of separated.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, with my own example, say there's no, I know for sure that I would not have been able to raise my kids by myself because there are so many areas of parenting that I'm extremely weak at. Same thing goes
Mm-hmm.
for my wife. There are areas also where she knows for a fact that she's weak at. So ever so often, every now and then we do through, we push responsibilities to ourselves, and we're okay with it because we know where we're both strong and weak at. Now, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, single parents do it. Quite some of single parents do a great job, and how they do it, I honestly don't know. But for it to be a bit more fluid, I think it's important for both parents should have their individual impact with their
Mm-hmm.
children in the family. I think it's important. You can't it is completely undeniable. So I believe again, like I said, that both parents should be, there should be both parents involved with raising children.
Yeah. Okay, so then it brings me back to the first question about defined roles. So, would you, knowing that parenting is an intricate part of marriage, would you, based on this, what you just said, agree that there's specific roles to be played when it comes to certain aspect of marriage, i.e., parenting?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I
I
rightly
also,
said,
I
yeah,
also
like
do
I said,
agree.
there are some things I cannot do. And let me give you examples, okay? When it comes to the kids' schoolwork, I'm horrible. I'm lousy at it. I no matter how hard I try, I find myself being impatient.
Uh-huh.
I find myself being agitated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But my wife handles it way differently. The way,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from me. Now,
Mm-hmm.
on her own side, when it comes to discipline,
Mm-hmm.
somewhat, okay, it's that's my strong area. I will
Okay.
admit. Okay. So that's why I said what we do, we've learned to understand what each person's role is meant to be
Mm-hmm.
concerning the kids. Clearly, of course, there are a lot more that we share together that would actually put hands together. But there are some also that I don't even try. That even sometimes when she asks me and she probably doesn't have the time or she's busy and she asks me, could you please, now that also happens. She would ask me and be like, okay, could you please help out? I can't do this right now. I'm okay, sure, why not? And honestly, I'm still struggling. I'm still struggling. Even when I put in my best, I'm still struggling.
Yeah.
So
I can
mm,
imagine. I mean, when I had my own kids, I realized that definitely, I mean, previously, I used to be this, I said it the last time, this hyper independent type of person who always, how for a long time in Africa, the girl child has been like, there's been like a lot of empowerment. You can do it, you can do it. So we have this sense of I can do everything by myself. And I was like in
mm,
this, I went through this phase where I thought I can do everything, but by myself. But when I had my own kids, I realized that there are certain things that I cannot do. For instance, I can't throw my baby in the air and catch it. This is something that is like everything, all my intestines freeze when I see my husband throw my baby up in the air and catch it. But later on, I understand the psychology behind that because it builds this trust for the baby to know that I'm here for you. I will catch you no matter what. It's thrilling. It makes the baby more confident and all of that. But I don't know any woman who, after even a year of having a baby, will start throwing the baby in the air and catching it. We are not designed, biologically designed for that. We are not, because it took you 9 months to bake this thing. You are not about to throw it in the air. And nothing in your mind will even let you go there. But somehow men are wired differently, and you can see how they play with their kids a bit more roughly. And women are not. We are not designed. Of course, there are exceptions,
my wife still has a problem when I play rough with my kids, even till now. She
because we're not
thinks
designed
there's
like
something.
that.
Sorry, because
We are not
apparently,
designed like that. So even putting the Bible aside, when we come to the scientific aspect of it, there are some things we deem as that no matter what, we can't be equal. Like men are not equal to women, and women are not equal to men. Everybody has their own strength and their own weakness, and I think both sides needs to come together to raise a child. Of course, there are circumstances where a spouse dies, there's divorce, and all of that. Nobody is saying that that is a like the worst environment to raise a child
mm,
in. But we're just saying that normally, I also believe that you need both sides. No matter how advanced we are, you need both sides to be able to raise a child. Okay, now I have another question, and this might be a bit triggering. Would you prepare your child for marriage? If marriage is relevant to you, is it something that you'll be willing to talk to your child about about marriage? And would you be willing to prepare your child for marriage? Is it something that is would be a priority, like let's say when your child is in their 20s?
mm,
Of course, I would. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because um, looking back, for me,
Mm-hmm.
I just wish my mother had told me a little bit more. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I don't blame her because I left home when I was pretty young. Oops, sorry about that. I left home when I was pretty young. So some of these things, oh, I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay. We can see you.
Can you
yeah,
guys
we
see
can see
me?
you
Yeah, we can
and we
see
can
you.
hear
We can
you.
hear you
Yeah.
too.
Okay. Yeah, so I wouldn't want my, not that I wasn't prepared, but I had to learn most of the things on my own. I was raised in a very strong Christian family, and my parents did the best they could. But I just wish like I had been told a little bit more from my parents rather than somebody outside. You know what I mean? So, that being said, it is my goal to do the work of preparing my kids and letting them know what marriage is all about by demonstrating it in their home. Okay, so they need to learn
Yeah.
from us first before they start seeing what is going
Mm-hmm.
on out in the society. And what they see, what they hear out there should be secondary after they've already seen and heard
Mhm.
for themselves from home. Okay, and as we continue evolving and as we continue moving into, more into this 21st century, there's new ideas and other things coming on, but we need to do the job as parents first before they go out there and keep on building on that. And just let them know that they're welcome to bring their views, because of course as they go out there and interact with other kids and other people in the society, they're going to come back with other views and say, hey, mommy, but I thought you'd said such, and I saw,
Mm-hmm.
my friend or my friend said such, this view is different. How is it different? So then now it's your job again to take them, if you believe in the Bible and you're a Christian, you take them to the Bible and say, well, remember I told you such and such. Okay, so what did your friend say? And then you refer back to the Bible and bring them back to the principles. That would be what I would do. But yes, I am not leaving my kids to go figure out there by themselves, or to go hear it from somebody else first. No, they're gonna hear it from me, and whatever else they hear out there, we're going to clarify when they come home. Now, if they do decide to do something different when they go out there and they're grown ups, I know that I've done my job. That's all.
Okay. For me, I think it's more of what they see myself and my wife do
Mm-hmm.
than what we tell them. I mean, they will get to a certain point, to a certain age in life, that there has got to be some certain sort of discussions where you actually have to sit across each other and talk things out. But I believe between, from when they were born and they were knowledgeable of, of the environment, what they see us do in the home matters a lot more than what you could possibly tell them. Kids, you could tell them one thing now, and then by the time they run off, they forget. But when they
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
see stuff around them and it is constant, okay, and there's no break in it, they start to imbibe these certain actions or attitudes or personalities that they notice within the home. I'll give you an
Mm-hmm.
example. My wife, she doesn't wear clothes that are revealing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what my daughter does? She's 10 years old. Whenever by chance, because of course she has one or two that could be, whenever by chance she puts on, it still happened this morning on her way to church. She puts on something and it shows a bit of skin. Do you know what my 10-year-old daughter would say? She'll walk up to her mom and be like, Mommy, no, no, this, we're not, no, this is not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was majorly because, and it wasn't anything that she used to tell her constantly. It was because she sees it that she has never and that she doesn't. And she also talks about it. Now, same thing with my own son as well. My boy would mostly rather do what he sees you do than what you tell him to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it begins with the home, it begins with the parents. And like I said, when it reaches a certain age, of course, where we have to talk about sex and marriage, all this kind of discussion you have to have with them. But definitely when they get to a certain age, also, they will have to be sat down and a discussion would have to be had. One would need to know what they think about marriage. And I'm hoping that by God's grace that they've been able to, take out a lot from seeing myself, and their mom, how it is in the home, how how from that I believe they should have a notion, no matter how small, of how a marriage should be. So again, it starts with the home. It starts with what you do. I mean, when you have situations where there's fights in the home, and assault and all of that, the girl child will believe that it's okay for her to be treated like so, and the male child will believe that it is his duty to do that to the female. Now, at the end of the day, what kind of children would you actually end up breeding? So it depends on the molding. And then when you get to a certain point in life, you now make it verbal. From that point, it should even be easier. You probably don't even need to say much, because as you're talking, they'll probably say, they'll understand.
They
You don't have to
understand.
talk so extensively here for them to understand.
Because,
They'll understand because it's what they've been used to. You'll be
mm-hmm,
surprised. You won't be surprised that at the end of the day, they'll probably be like, yeah, mommy, I know. You and that, this, that. And you'll be surprised how much education they would have gotten themselves just from watching you,
mm-hmm.
whereby you won't even need to say much. So that's what
Yeah.
I think.
I believe that to be true on my side as well. I feel like our kids, they love us so much, like we are like superstars to them, and they look up to us a lot, and they want to be like us more than we think. Sometimes
Mm,
we think they want to follow all of these TikTok stars and all of these things they see, but mainly we are the first people they admire the most, and
yeah.
they do look up to us. And however, that brings me to another question, especially when our kids have never seen us likely gone through a separation or a divorce. In this preparation where they are watching us, they have never seen us go through divorce or seen us argue or fight or all of that. When your child is older, would you give them the permission to walk out if they go into a marriage and it's not working? Would you tell them, as soon as you go and it's not working, just walk out, come back home, your room is still available for you? Or
Ah, it
or
depends.
are you going to be like telling them to stay, because sometimes they need that permission from us, like they need,
Yeah.
like, mommy, is it okay? I have a friend who has never seen somebody go through a divorce, and for her, even going through a separation was something very, very heavy to do, because nobody in her family has ever experienced that. So she didn't even
Mm,
know how to start it or how to even bring it's up, you know. Even though she's a very modern woman, she has everything studied, all of that. But just walking out, she had nobody to copy, nobody to emulate. So she didn't know how to do that. Would your son, right? Would they know that it's okay and there's nothing bad about it if they want to walk away?
hmm. Betty, go first. Let me try and take a cue from you.
Well, this is my belief, and I do agree kind of with what Amma has put over there. Once you've raised up this child appropriately,
Mm-hmm,
you've demonstrated the best that you could what marriage should look like. They've learned on their own. You've shared the teachings. They know what a true marriage should look like. So
mm-hmm,
that starts from the kind of spouse that they're going to pick.
mm-hmm,
Okay, what kind of people are you interacting out here with that's going to lead to that person that you're going to get married with? Because you somehow see the red flags here before you get to the marriage. So
mm-hmm,
if you are properly if you've been properly, not just taught, but if you've seen how your parents relate, you've learned these things, you've read the Bible for yourself, it starts from picking the right spouse. Of course, nobody ever knows the right spouse 100%, but you look for all the good traits that we are talking about. Okay. That
mm-hmm,
way, when you start a marriage, you're starting on a good note. But you have to remember this person, you've already raised them. They're now a grown up, they're running their own home. If they do decide to live at that point, then it's up to them.
mm-hmm,
It's totally up to them. And I see where parents have a hard time letting go or letting their kids live marriage that is abusive, or whatever, if they're having cheating issues or something like that. Some parents really have a hard time letting their kids leave their marriage. And, especially like, in the African community, they look at it like, oh, you now a loser, you have lost your title. He was providing, now who's going to provide for you, and all those kind of things. But the truth is, if the marriage is not working for whatever reason, those two people have decided that it's not working, then that individual to me is grown up enough. They have the values in them, and they know if this is not working, then it's up to them. If they want to walk away, they can walk away. Yes, if it's my child and it's not working for them, I'm not throwing them outside. Mm-mm. They can come back home and they'll have a room until they can get to figure it out. I'm going to be their support system because I'm not in their home 100% to know exactly what's happening. So you have to establish that trust to know that whatever your child is telling you, however grown they are, is true. And so be their support system, because this is where we have a problem in this society. Parents keep pushing the kids, young girls, go back to your husband's house, go back to your husband's house. And these girls are enduring emotional abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse. But because the girls were not set up for success and all they know is my husband is providing, they are stuck in those homes. Some of them
Mhm.
end up committing suicide, and we know what happens in these marriages. So, what am I trying to say in short? For me, if my child says that they're having issues in their marriage, and because I know I already raised them up right, if they decide they're walking out of their marriage, I'm totally okay with that. If you want to come home and stay for a little time while you figure yourself out, you're more than welcome to do that. I will support them.
Okay. First, I would like to say that I think there has to be I think there has to be clarity between seeking my opinion on or asking for my permission.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, if they are seeking for my opinion, that's great. Both sides would need to be heard. You have to apply wisdom as the parent, as an older person. Now, if it clearly becomes irreconcilable, then again, I would have them actually make up their minds. Now, it depends on the exact situation. I do not believe in physical what's it called, in being physical with
Mhm.
the wife or with the husband. Either ways, I'm a strong believer of that never happening. I believe that once that starts to happen, happens the first time, sometimes they'll say it's a mistake. Happens the second time, sometimes they say, okay, I'm still trying to learn from the first mistake. Happens the third time, then it's a trend, it's a behavior. I honestly 100% will not condone it. I'll literally be the first to take a truck and probably just get her things out. Okay. And even when I even still do that, I won't do it to permanently dissolve the marriage,
Mhm.
because sometimes the other party probably needs help. You know, it's possible, but I will not. I would find it odd that my child will come and seek permission. No, I think I'd rather use the word opinion,
Mhm.
to, come at me as that, and not like, daddy, this is happening. Can I come home? And
Mhm.
then she expects me to either say, yes, come home, or stay where you are.
Mhm.
I have to be able to understand first, are you seeking my opinion? And if you are, let's look at the problem. We'll sit down and look at it, and then we'll find out what exactly the root cause is. If it's something that is beyond what I can manage, then I would advise a separation for some time while things could be worked out. And I mean, I'm not against total separation. I'm not. Unfortunately, but sometimes isn't it better to be alive, sometimes single or dead in
Mhm.
it?
Mhm.
Yeah, I know quite a number of examples that they ought to run out of it like yesterday.
Mhm.
But for some reason, they are stuck.
They
And
can't
if
see.
my advice were to have been given, I would have said run.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
For
so
me, For me, like I always have my girls, they will always have a space in my house. I'll always keep a room, whether it's to cool off for one night, is to cool off for 1 week, is to go through a
Yeah,
separation. I don't care what it is. You can always come home. It's not a sign of failure. It's not a sign of not trying hard enough. Like you said, sometimes you just need to cool off for a night. Sometimes you need to cool off for 3 months. Sometimes,
yeah.
for whatever reason, you always have a space. Even if I live in a one-bedroom apartment, you always have a space to come lie on the same bed with me whilst we figure out the next stage. So in as much as I believe marriage is still relevant in today's age, based on science, based on religion, and so on. Of course, the political aspect, we've also talked about it. But I'd like to know, from apart from partnership, are there any benefits to marriage in 2022? Apart from having, like, for me, for instance, in my marriage, my husband is the person I come back from work, I tell him everything about who I hate at work, who did what, who is annoying me, all of that. So for me, he's like my gossip person, and if I don't like you, he doesn't like you as well, because he does not even know the people I work with, but he knows somebody annoyed me, and yeah, then he's on my side anyway. you know so I'm asking, from the two of you, apart from partnership, are there any advantages or benefits to marriage in 2022?
Of course, like you just said, there is the emotional support,
Mm-hmm.
there is the mental support. Um, I do the same thing too. I like this morning, he was like, "You're waking me up to tell me what happened last night." I'm like, "Yes, I was upset, and you need to wake up and listen." So yes, the apart from the partnership procreation, we support each other mentally, we support each other emotionally. uh Things happen, sometimes we lose loved ones, and you need your spouse to be there for you for support
Mm-hmm.
during that time. Sometimes, one person has a job, the other person doesn't have a job, you need that person to stand in the gap
Yeah.
for you during that time. It's marriage is like it's a wonderful statement of how God loves us, and so he expects us to demonstrate the same to one another. Okay, so yeah, we support each other emotionally, mentally, financially. You have somebody there that, as long as God gives you life, you have each other's back. Crossing fingers, nothing
Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy
nothing
happens
bad
in
happens.
2020.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I
So
tell you what, I, I would just simply say this, and I won't say anymore. If it wasn't for marriage, I'll be a complete wreck.
Oh,
Honestly, if it wasn't for her, I would be a complete and total, utter wreck. Simple.
wow.
got you.
So would you say that she keeps you grounded from going off the
Absolutely. Going off the rails. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can agree to
I
that too.
absolutely. See, if sometimes I think that if sometimes I actually play stuff in my head, like what would happen to me? What would happen if she wasn't there? And immediately I start to think it, I immediately just clear it out of my head because I don't want to go any further. Honestly, especially when you find that especially when you find that person, it's it's divine.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's divine. It's I don't really know words to express it or to explain it. Once you find that person, then I just can't explain it. But for me, that's how it is.
Okay. So
Can
Yeah.
I say
jumping off
something?
on
I see
yeah,
Blessed Beyond Believe put a comment over there. She says,
yeah, she's saying
nope.
yeah.
She said you can procreate and get emotional support easily. Um, I see your point, but if we are going the biblical way and you're talking about a spouse, and we're talking about male and female in this case,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's the same. I have girlfriends that maybe acquire, things that stress me out, like, a
Mm-hmm.
woman friend that I can talk to. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it's not the same way that I talk to my husband about whatever it is that is, bothering me or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I get your point, but to me, I look at it differently.
I
It's
see it
different when it's
absolutely.
a spouse.
I see it absolutely different. I was just going to talk about that before you mentioned that. I see it completely differently because for me, um, I would say that I have maybe one or two female friends that are very long term friendships. I
Hmm.
have come to see. I found out that my man is more reliable as a stable thing in my life, as opposed to flaky people who come and go. You
Mm,
understand?
mm.
Because whatever he does, he knows it affects me, and whatever I do, I know it affects him. And he's not going to take any secrets I tell him and go tell a third person, a fourth person. He's more. I can rest assured that he is more there for me than a friend will be, because I don't
Reliability.
have any
Yeah.
my friend doesn't have the same amount of commitment to me
Hmm.
as my husband does. My that
Yeah.
commitment is stronger than a friendship per se. So of course, you can get emotional support easily, and that was going to be my next question. In this age of boundaries and all of these words that we throw around and all of that, do you think that marriage, now that we talk about advantage, do you think there are any disadvantage in marriage? Like, does it take away like your freedom to do whatever you like
To
based
some
on?
extent, of course.
So would
You
you say
can't
it's a
just
kind of,
get up and
because
say,
some people will be
"Hey,
like they
I'm
don't
going
want to
to
Thank
get
God.
married, but
California."
it's a kind of prison,
Thank God for that. Thank God for that. Honestly, thank God it takes away some freedom.
Yeah,
Really.
but some people would go wild,
Yeah.
Um, they just make haphazard decisions. So a friend says, "Hey, we gotta go to France," and
then
you want to
you're
go,
off.
you get up and go. And so it keeps you in a certain, what you call it. I don't know what to call it, but you can't just get up and make haphazard decisions. You can't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of consultation and communication back and forth. And some things, you know yourself as a couple. After a while, you already know, this one is not gonna fly. This one is not gonna fly. So yeah, that is what I know for me. But no, you can't just get up and go. You are limited as per what you can do. Not to say that the person is suppressing you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's not in the form of suppression, but it's that mutually some things just don't work when you're a spouse, as with friends, as compared to when you were single, when you could just get up and go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blessed Beyond Belief says, Agape, Philo, that's because you have supportive husbands. It will be a different narrative for those who have Inspector General as partners. Can marriage be a kind of prison for some people?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Unfortunately, yes, it can.
So it can
And
be heaven and it can be hell.
oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there are lots of women and men going through it today.
Mhm.
Yeah, it can be horrendous.
I mean, it's not just Inspector General as in men who are imprisoning women. We know women can also be Inspector General as well and
Yep.
tell you who you can talk to, who you can't talk to.
Yep.
You have to, as soon as you get home, they have to go through your phone, check you, smell you, make sure you've not been anywhere. Um,
Some have recorders, they
Some,
record
yeah, somehow
you.
record. Yeah, I've heard that people actually sniff you when you come home from head to toe to make sure you don't smell like nobody else.
That's
and if you
just
took,
borderline insanity.
and if you smell too fresh, it means you took a shower somewhere. That one too suspicious.
Yeah, not too much headache. No.
You have
Mm-mm.
to smell like outside, like you went to work and came back. You shouldn't be smelling too fresh.
Uh,
Those are the signs that you have to shine your eye and be like, I don't think so. No.
Okay. I like for us to like end it here. It's been almost an hour. I've really enjoyed talking to you both, Betty
Thank
and
you.
Tola. And
Absolutely.
thank you very much for this very, very lively discussion. And we'll see each other next week. Enjoy the
Absolutely.
rest of your Sunday
Chris.
And
evening.
thank you for the
You too.
contributors. We
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
to
appreciate
all the
Yep.
your
contributors as
company
well.
here.
Yep.
Blessed Beyond Believe, Ama Joa Pia Osei Dia. Let me see if there was anybody else in here from the beginning. Ama Manson was here. Ama, thank you for your support and all the
Mhm.
comments and everything else. Thank you guys. See you next week.
All
Bye.
right then.
Yeah, bye bye.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
Mhm.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
All right.